Our reading today comes from John chapter 10, verses 1 to 10. Jesus said, "Very truly I tell you, anyone who does not enter the sheepfold by the gate, but climbs in by another way is a thief and a bandit. The one who enters by the gate is the shepherd of the sheep. The gatekeeper opens the gate for him, and the sheep hear his voice. He calls his own sheep by name and leads them out. When he has brought out all his own sheep, he goes ahead of them, and the sheep follow him because they know his own voice. They will not follow a stranger, but they will run from him because they do not know the voice of strangers." Jesus used this figure of speech with them, but they did not understand what he was saying to them. So again, Jesus said to them, "Very truly I tell you, I am the gate for the sheep. All who came before me are thieves and bandits, but the sheep did not listen to them. I am the gate. Whoever enters by me will be saved and will come in and go out and find pasture. The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I came that they may have life and have it abundantly." Before we jump into this passage, I want to take you back to a story that we heard during Lent. It was the story of the man who was born blind. The story was in the chapter previous to the passage that I just read. And it's unfortunate that we're hearing these two passages weeks apart, because when it took place, Jesus just kept talking. And there was no pause between the story of the man born blind and Jesus telling this parable of sorts. And so a quick recap of the story of the man born blind. Jesus and his disciples were walking along and they saw a man who had been born blind. The disciples wanted to know who had sinned to make this man blind, the man or his parents. Jesus answered, neither. Jesus created some mud with his spit, rubbed it on the man's eyes, and told him to go wash in the pool of Siloam, and then the man could see. People were so amazed that the man could see. But then it turned into this inquisition of sorts about how he got healed. People repeatedly asked him how he got healed. The Pharisees came and questioned the man and were so skeptical that they called the man's parents to make sure that he had actually been blind from birth. And then they asked the man to repeat the healing story a second time. After this whole interrogation, the Pharisees deemed that the man was sinful and drove him out. For his entire life, he had lived on the margins of society because he was blind, different from everyone else. And finally, he was healed and he had a chance to become part of the community. And instead, these religious leaders chose to drive him right back out to the outskirts, literally away from community, away from belonging. Consider how that man must have felt when these religious leaders drove him out. Rejected, humiliated, disparaged, vilified, used. And when Jesus heard what had happened to the man, he went and found him. Jesus revealed to the man that he was the Messiah. And then Jesus continued speaking and teaching with the passage that we have today. And so today's passage is in response to a situation in which a man was cast out like a piece of trash. And Jesus was not okay with that. In fact, his response demonstrated that his ministry was all about making sure that people were treated like human beings, that they were loved and cared for and treated with grace and dignity. Because far too often, the opposite happened, as was established with this story. Jesus sought out this man, and now he was a part of Jesus's flock, part of his fold. Jesus was writing a new story for this man, and for every human who had or would live a similar story. We don't get many details about what happened between Jesus and the man who was born blind after he and Jesus came together. And so we're left to use our imagination. I suspect that the man was relieved to have the Messiah come to him and offer connection and belonging and a reminder that he was a son of God. Jesus would have brought him into relationship with him, providing the man with what he needed, not only in that moment, but also what he needed to sustain him for his long journey ahead, because I'm sure challenges would continue to come his way. But from that point forward, he was welcomed into a metaphorical safe place and a rich pasture. Jesus is the gate that keeps the sheep safe from dangers in the night. And Jesus is the gate that leads the sheep to nourishment and all they need to thrive. And Jesus is also the good shepherd who cares for the sheep for the sole purpose of ensuring the sheep have abundant life for the sheep's sake. Jesus is the shepherd who works to care for the sheep's sake, not for the sake of harvesting wool or the mutton, but so that the sheep might flourish and have all that they need to thrive. And notice that there's no mention about keeping some of the sheep out. The purpose of the gate is to keep out the thieves and the bandits, not to keep out any sheep. The sheep are welcome through the gate. All sheep are welcome into that safe place at night and welcome into that place of abundance by day. The sheep don't have to believe a certain thing or do anything to earn passage. They're simply welcome because they are sheep. And in the end, the man who was born blind would have left Jesus feeling the opposite of when Jesus found him. After the encounter with Jesus, the man would have left feeling fulfilled, complete, known, worthy, and above all, loved. A complete transformation. And this is what Jesus, the gatekeeper, the shepherd, offers each of us and all people. Jesus, the gate, welcomes you into a safe place. Jesus, the gate, welcomes you into the abundant and rich pastures to gaze in. Jesus, the shepherd, makes you part of the flock. Jesus has come so that you may have life and have it abundantly. And Jesus has come so that all people may have life and have it abundantly. The reality is, however, that what happened in this story with the man who was born blind being cast out continues to happen in our world. People continue to get driven out to the margins of society in so many ways. There are so many people out there who are acting as thieves and bandits, trying to harm the metaphorical sheep. We see it in the news. We see it in our own community. And while we are the sheep in this story, we also get to take on the role of the gate and the gatekeeper and the shepherd. God is constantly inviting us as individuals and as a church to join in the work that God is doing in our community. And so that means we also get to be the gate and the gatekeeper and the shepherd, in addition to being the sheep. And so we get to wrestle with how to live out the story and the invitation to relationship 2,000 years later. And that relationship piece is the most important piece. Developing a trusting relationship, like that relationship between the man born blind and Jesus. Developing a relationship with other people is always going to be the most important thing. Sheep are known for not being the brightest creatures, but they also aren't the dumbest creatures. they can tell when the shepherd truly cares for them. They learn to trust the shepherd if the shepherd truly cares for them. And so God calls us to love people, to really love people. And when we do, when we build those relationships of trust, beautiful transformation can happen. And we work to provide abundant life, and that work is carried out. It is work that we are privileged to be able to witness and be a part of. Ministry that we are equipped to do because we were first given abundant life ourselves. So let us love because we were first loved. Amen.